gotten it wrong a few times on science, and I think that we probably are better off leaving science to the scientists and focusing on what we do, what we're really good at, which is theology and morality.
2 points. If he's not a scientist, and in fact he does have a degree in chemistry, neither are you.
I agree.
And that's one point. And the second point is that somewhere between 80 and 90% of the scientists who have studied this say that humans, human activity contributes to climate change. So I guess the question would be, if he shouldn't talk about it, should you?
All right. Chris Wallace, in my view, making a fool of himself. First of all, this 80 to 90%, at least he didn't say 99%. But I don't know where he gets that from. Rick Santorum, of course, Rick Santorum has to talk about global warming. He's running for president. He was a senator. They make policy, as he goes on to tell Chris. It's different, than saying the Pope shouldn't talk about it because he doesn't know anything about it. But why do you talk about it? Because I'm going to have to vote on it, make policy if I'm president. I don't get that whole, logic or lack thereof. Bill Donohue, president of the Catholic League, Newsmax contributor, author of The Catholic Advantage, is here. Hello, Bill.
How you doing, Steve?
Good. How are you? All right. So what do you make of Chris Wallace there?
Well, Chris is under the impression, and I'm not blaming him. It was put out some stories last week. It was erroneous information that the Pope is a chemist. The Pope is not a chemist. The Pope does not have a master's degree in chemistry. The Pope does not have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. The Pope has the equivalent of a 2-year community college degree. They have a different term for that over there. In other words, 2 years out of high school. So let's get rid of this idea the Pope is a chemist. He's not. Secondly, what Rick is basically saying is this. When the Pope speaks on faith and morals, that's when Catholics pay attention. That's the authority. Once you get beyond that, can you speak to other issues? Of course you can speak to other issues. But I don't care whether it's Pope Francis or his predecessors or his successors someday. Once you get outside the domain of faith and morals, be careful. And be careful particularly when you get into the weeds and get very specific. For example, are we God's stewards? Are we supposed to take care of the earth? Of course. That's out of the Old Testament. It's out of the New Testament. It's totally unobjectionable. Now, we might get a little bit more specific, but the more specific you become on something like this,
the more dangerous it gets.
Well, what happens is Catholics will scratch their head and say, well, he's a very nice man.
Right. Well, this, with all due respect to him, this has happened, at least I believe, more and more than his predecessor, and then maybe even the man the Pope who will follow him.
Right, and his encyclical on climate change or the environment is going to come out on the 18th of this month, and so we'll get some idea then. And then in September, the Pope will talk to the United Nations on this. Again, Catholics will offer him respect, but in terms of accepting what he has to say as guiding their thoughts, no, it's not going to happen. We know, for example, that even on issues as the death penalty, for example, or on gun control, or on helping the poor, there's a lot of different issues where Catholics can disagree on. When it comes to things which are non-negotiable, let me give you 2 quick ones: abortion and euthanasia. It's not my opinion. It's in the Catechism. It says these are intrinsically evil. No one has ever said that air pollution is intrinsically evil, okay?
Right.
So people need to get up to speed on this.
Yeah, I grant you that. Okay, Hillary Clinton is going to, and silly me, I thought she officially announced for president. She's going to officially announce for president on Saturday on Roosevelt Island here in New York. Not only is she kicking kids off a playground to do it, but you wrote a piece today at CatholicLeague.org that talks about the fact that you think she's going to exploit Roosevelt's four freedoms at that park.
Well, she's done it before, and I think she'll do it again. And what they're going to say is this. One of the 4 freedoms that Roosevelt spoke about in 1941 was freedom to worship. He didn't say freedom of religion. However, he did use the term freedom of religion earlier in that speech. Now, in terms of freedom to worship, why is that different? Freedom to worship is a very insular, private exercise. You can go into your synagogue, your mosque, your church, and pray. Thank you. Now, in terms of freedom of religion, which is what you find in the First Amendment, which is what you find in the UN founding documents, that's a public expression. That's a very robust expression of religion. She prefers the more privatized understanding. Now, she's not going to get away with by citing Roosevelt. I mean, she has made it very, very clear where she comes to in this particular issue. Roosevelt never used this as somehow as a euphemism to privatize religion whatsoever. And so I think she'll probably invoke it, and it's not going to give her cover.
Fox has a new series called Lucifer, and it's drawing a lot of protests from 1 Million Moms, which is an offshoot of the American Family Association. They say that it promotes Satanism, etc., and they want it taken out of the TV lineup. What's your response to the
Well,
series?
I'd have to find out more about the show, but I have to tell you quite frankly, sometimes we have to pare back a bit. I'm going to save my big guns for the serious stuff. When we have a person running for President of the United States who really wants to reinvent the First Amendment right to freedom of religion and make it a private exercise, that's going to bother me a lot more. A lot of these shows are more stupid than they are offensive, so I have to take a look at it.
What do you feel about, I mean, I know you wrote about the whole Jenner incident, and I'm particularly upset with ESPN giving their Courage Award, their Arthur Ashe Courage Award to Jenner as opposed to Lauryn Hill, who died of cancer while playing for a basketball team in college that she stayed right till the end. She just died in April,
right.
and she's passed over for Jenner.
Well, that was obscene what they did. Shame on them. Look, Bruce Jenner is not the problem. He obviously has some psychological maladies to work out. The problem is with the elites who tried to tell us that he's just like different strokes for different folks. The fact of the matter is that people who get this sex reassignment surgery are more likely to be depressed, more likely to suffer, to commit suicide, matter of fact, the more out you are, the more likely it is that you're going to commit suicide. 10 years after people get the surgery, you're 20% more likely to become suicidal. We know this from the studies in Sweden.
Right, yeah.
So we shouldn't celebrate and glamorize what is really a tragic situation.
Bill Donohue, Catholic League, always good to talk to you, sir. Former Congressman Tom Tancredo's next.